I was born in York, in Ayrsham.
I was born in New Zealand in 1922.
I was born in Wallsend.
I was born in Scotchy, West End, 1987.
In Auckland, in New Zealand.
When?
When?
Yeah, what was the date?
1932.
And the first memories were of falling down the back steps at Remuera. This was it was a house called Little Rosemont that was old Great Rosemont. I'll show you a picture of it. Can you shut it off for a minute?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Switch it off.
I don't need to switch off.
Yeah. I'll show you a picture of. You can see Granny still as a dim figure up on the.
Just that, yeah.
Yeah.
Earliest memory would be I can't remember how old I was, but I remember the first day in nursery I had a fight with this kid. Never since then I used to have fights with him all the time through school, so that was one of my earliest memories.
Earliest memory I remember is of being in the Crown Court at Teesside, 1991, October, surrounded by the judges with the funny wigs on, and they were asking us if I wanted to go and live with the family, you know, my adopted family, and I was nervous and just said yes. Off I went, you know. But yeah, that's the earliest memory.
Going to the swimming pool. My mother used to take us every week to the Saturday to the swimming pool, the Tepid Baths in Auckland, and we used to go for swimming lessons with Professor Anderson, who used to teach us.
Yes, there was I do remember there was a sweetie man that was a chap who'd been gassed in the war, and used to and obviously was a little bit eccentric, and used to come around with a tray and with sweets on and sell them to all his children. We used to rush out and go out for the sweetie man.
And then my first day going to school, I was 5. Went to Cornwall Park up the road. My grandmother, this one here, took me. She's there, sort of thing. She took me to school and left me there. You know, what is this? Because I'd been. Well, I was age 5 in those days. You went early, and I settled down and enjoyed it very much, and showed off in Prima 4, where I sang "Hallelujah, I'm a bum, Hallelujah, bum again, Hallelujah, gives a hand up to revive us again," and the Miss Chadwick it was, I think, must have laughed their heads off and had me to do this.
And basically I left York when I was 2 years old. I was put into the care system. Obviously I was adopted at the age of 5, so I got out of the care system. But then I was put back in at the age of 11. Up until that time I was growing up in a place called Great Ayton near Middlesbrough, and it was with obviously an adopted family. One was a police officer, the other one was a nurse, and my mum was a nurse. And it was alright. It was a bit surreal because you knew they weren't your family, you know.
My father was away a lot. He was a marine engineer. My mother was a trained nurse and was terribly efficient. My father was a marine engineer, and so he was away a lot at sea. And so Mummy used to, who was a trained nurse and very efficient. And I had 2 sisters and a brother. I was the youngest of the 3 girls, and my younger brother. So my 2 sisters and my brother. He was the youngest.
What was it like growing up?
Round the West End?
Yeah.
Canny, I had some good laughs, seen a few good things, seen a few things I shouldn't have.
Why?
Just can't really say, you know, it's just shit that shouldn't be allowed to be seen by young'uns, you know.
My father's a vicar of the parish. We lived in a huge rectory. It was very remote. It was all rather wonderful. went to the local primary school where there were only 18 children, I think. But I liked that. I liked the countryside.
Well, I went into a secure unit at the age of 13, Newton Aycliffe Secure Unit, and it was a Section 20. It was a danger to myself and the public, which basically I was just off the rails, and to prevent me from causing any harm to myself or to the public. They put me into a secure unit for 4 months. Loads of child psychologists and all the rest of it coming to try and work out what was wrong. None of them realising, the fact of the matter is I didn't have a family, and that was what was wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, just a sort of normal New Zealand household with lots of outdoor things going on. You do live a much more outdoor life in New Zealand because the weather's much better.
She was a very good mum to me, though her family, the Rings, were snobby and stayed with her, but used to talk about her behind her back, the Miss Rings and all that, because she was a flighty person. She played cards and played golf and had enough money. My father was a vet and did enough to keep her going, and she lived a high life, went to the races, was quite an expert on that, and knew that, was generous-hearted. And my father was an idealist. He was a very touchy character. He was the heart of gold he had. He would do anything for anyone, sort of thing. But on the other hand, he couldn't stand fools. He was very... being a Victorian father, this is hard for you to realise. You wouldn't dare approach him.
You'll have to. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah, God.
Did you get on well in school?
Yeah, I did quite well. I was not particularly well academically, but okay. Loved the sport and things. Did well in painting and things like that. Then went on from there to Hayden Bridge, which was very good, very nice. Again, mainly interested in, English and art and pottery I did there.
My dad wasn't there till I was about 10 or something, because he was in jail. My ma was always there for us, so my ma done everything she could to bring us up, you know what I mean? Obviously I was the last one of the 5 kids, so obviously I got everything because I was a baby boy, you know what I mean? But apart from that, cush parents, I couldn't ask for anyone else, you know what I mean? Even though my dad was a dick. But
when we was in a place called Bognor Regis, the children's home, the Miller's Homes for Children in Bognor Regis, we were going out and I was pinching cars and with friends, and we were doing things like that at 15 and driving to London and going to house parties, and I sort of never did any of it to be a bad person, but I did it to fit in because I wanted to feel a part of something, and they were like, I felt like they were my friends, do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I would have been very lonely if I never had them, so I just sort of went along and did these things without a real sort of understanding of the repercussions of what's going to happen. And I went into prison again at 15 in Feltham in North London, and that was pretty much one of the most horrendous experiences, of my life.
What was it like?
It was very daunting. 70% of the population were black, and for me that was strange. I was like a fish out of water. And I was a young 15-year-old. I wasn't very streetwise. To walk into London, into a prison in London with lots of very streetwise 16, 17-year-olds, even 15-year-olds, whose dads are, yardies, drug dealers, gangsters, quite ruthless young people. I was terrified. It was the most daunting experience ever.
Now, I remember the moment when war was declared. I was getting on the train from the holidays back to university in 1939.
Yeah.
So what were your memories of your father?
Hugh, I think, gosh. Hold on a minute, Arthur. I'm not sure, I don't know how to answer that. Don't know how to answer that. No, I'm going to stop it a minute. I'll have to think about it.
September the 3rd, the paper had across it, in huge lettering that high, at least, England declares war on Germany, on the old Granny Herald it said. And I thought, good God, what am I in for?
I left the care system at 16th birthday, walked out with £45 in my pocket and jumped on a train to Leeds. I think it was just because it was the first train that turned up, and I ended up staying in a homeless shelter at 16. And
What was it like that?
it was really rough, quite daunting, quite scary. Yeah, it was in dormitories, you know, and I wasn't expecting it to be the way it was. And everyone was a lot older than me, and I was very much out of place.
To be called up at 19 till I was 25 meant that part of your life was gone. So you imagine that, you know, now having to go into the army and being stuck there for all of it was. And so still, you lived through it, lived some of your best experiences. Went to the boarding school I'd never been to by going to the army, see, and sort of made me grow up and be less selfish.
Gone to jail when I was 19. That was probably the worst time in my life.
What for?
Being a daft cunt, you know what I mean? But,
What was it like in jail?
like a holiday camp, I can only say because I went to the youth offenders one, so it's just like being at school with kids which you cannot leave, you know what I mean? But I haven't been to big man's jail and I didn't want to, you know, because stories I've heard about shit happening there, you know, it's just bad crap.
The lowest moment was probably when I realised when I went into care the second time, the adoption broke down, right? And the saddest moment was I was in care for 6 months, right? Well, 3 months to begin with. And then we had these things called pathway plan reviews, where the social workers and your mum and dad and everybody meet up and your foster carer, and they decide, you know, how things are going, you know, if you're happy where you are and things, if you can go back home. And at that 3 month point, they said I needed to stay in care for another 6 months. So I stayed in care for another 6 months, you know, looking forward. I actually wanted to go home despite the fact that things weren't brilliant and the adoption broke down because of it. It was a horrendous place to be, you know, in care system. And it was quite horrendous. But I remember that 6 month period, and at the end of it having another pathway plan meeting, and seeing on the piece of paper it says not going to be going home at all until I was 18 years old or old enough to look after myself, because I was in care voluntarily under a Section 25 order. There was no care order, you know, basically. And that was the saddest moment, realising I was, you know, 12, 13 years old and I wasn't going to go home and have normal mum and dad and friends I would grow up with from school and the holidays and now the driving lessons at 17 and you know, just the mum and dad to fall back on and just none of the normal things that people have.
Coming to England was after after a month on a ship. Took 4 months for my grandmother to go out there on the old ship. 4 months they took round the Cape. And this on the ship, the Rangitoto, Rangitane, Rangitiki, one of the 3 sister ships, and came over. And after a month in which you live a whole life on board, you know, whatever it is, a whole world, and say goodbye as it was a train journey and nothing in it, you know, never see each other again.
Essentially, I did various things, but then I ended up in a studio in Beaufort Castle, which was just right for me because it allowed me to do my own thing. I had a very low rent, hardly a rent at all, so it gave me time just to do my own art, which really was something I did for 25 years.
It wasn't until I was 18 when I found somewhere where I could stay permanently, which was with my girlfriend in a 2-bedroom terrace house. and started working, and I was working for Factory Direct, just canvassing for the sale of kitchens and bathrooms. It was a good job, and I know I did all right at it, but me and my girlfriend's relationship fell through, you know, and as a result of that I became homeless again, and so obviously this is the situation I'm in now, and that's about, this is a 6th week now.
I do miss certain things in New Zealand. Being here, like the sea and
Yes, darling.
the outdoor life.
Yes.
Okay.
Happiest moment was walking out of the care system on my 16th birthday and being free from them. Yeah.
Happiest point in my life, I would say when my Ben was born. Honestly, just seeing him being born, brought in the world, just mind-boggling. But it's better than any drug you can ever take in your life. Honestly, I think that's a good lie.
Keeps you going.
Just the hope of the fact that I had all that bad stuff happen, right? And then I had a taste of the good life when I was going to work and I had my car and I had my girlfriend and my pen and I was doing really well. And then obviously I fell back into, you know, being homeless and having nothing. But I know what it's like to have all that good stuff, so I want it back, and that's what's keeping us going. That's the only thing, is that hoping that one day I will have this stuff back. I'll have a nice car, I'll have a nice house back, I'll have a nice girlfriend, you know, I'll be able to have the band back, go back to work, and that's what I want. That's what everybody wants.
The length of a time lived is in a way is too marvellous, a miracle that you've even lived, that to take that in, and there must be something to it. Old Mr. Broadhurst that I told about, then he said, there must be something, he said.